I've also gone and created appropriate CAD layers, and take note of these CAD layers because I'll be using them throughout the design process. And just to show you what I've done, I'm going to turn the visibility of them on, click on OK. Inside my CAD mode, I would have went to Draw and selected Polyline, Lightweight Polyline. That is how I went and put in these 5 lines over here. Turning off the surveyed points and then using the lines for the design. Going to the beginning of my road, take note of the length of the road. We're looking at approximately 6 kilometers. Going back to the beginning of the road and pressing Escape. In my roads mode, I go to File, select Road File, and I go and specify my road settings. I can, for instance, go to my display settings and go and turn on my surface shading. I'm going to turn on the transparency. Going through the road design process, I go to Alignment, Regression, Extract Strings. We're looking at a dual carriageway, and during the extraction process, we'd only use the CAD entities. For this purpose, let's go and extract everything. Reading my prompt, I need to indicate the start point of the stake line. So I go to the beginning of my CAD line and I left click. Reading my prompt again, it says indicate the end point. If you don't want the full length of this CAD line, you could go and specify an endpoint. In my case, I want to use the entire length, so I go and press Escape. Then I actually go and select the CAD line. Right click and extract string. Specify your chainage coordination interval. Let's use 20 meters. Then looking at the left pivot information, the chainage range is automatically picked up from the stake line. You have the option of using a fixed height, but in that case, everything would be at constant elevation. If you've got a 3D CAD entity, you could go and select from entities, but in our case, we'd only pick up the elevations from our survey. If, for example, you're doing a road rehabilitation design here and you want to go and resurface, you could easily just go and add 30 millimeters by specifying an add constant height. Click on OK. Now that the stake line is finished, you'll see that in your road control center, I get additional information. But still looking at the left pivot, I go and select which CAD line represents my left pivot. Once the entity is selected, you go and right click and extract string. Same thing applies to the right hand side pivot. Click on the CAD line, right click and extract string. Looking at my road left edge, same thing applies. Click on OK. Click on the left road edge CAD line, right click and extract string. Now while I'm busy working here, you can see the information being updated. If your control panel looks slightly different to mine, it means that you aren't using the latest version. Still looking at the road right edge, go and select the appropriate CAD line, right click and extract string. In this particular road design, the left median is at the same position of your left pivot. So re-clicking on that line, and then the same thing applies to the right hand side. Once you've gone through the process and you've selected all the correct entities, because my road expert is turned on, Civil Designer goes through the design process for me. Before I show this to you in a cross-sectional format, just a couple of things I want to point out. If I go to the cross-sectional symbols drawing over here, and I'll explain to you where this drawing is saved, we've got a couple of symbols here that we're going to work with. This yellow line, white line, and new. If you want to go and create your own symbols that you can use in cross-sections, you would go to your CAD mode, you would select Tools, Blocks, and that is where you go and create your own block. All of these symbols are already blocks, so I can go to Block Manager and just show you what they look like. So if, for instance, you wanted to edit the telephone pole, you could go and right-click there and go and select Edit Block. That will bring up the block editor, and if you go to the block editor menu, there's options available to you. Closing the block editor and going back to our road design. Select and extract strings at the bottom again, and as you go and select the different options, you can see how they are highlighted in the plan view. Let's take a look at the cross-section, going back to the roads. Selecting Section, Graphical Edit. Clicking on a position on my road. I'm then going to update the display settings. Then I'm going to change my pen color for the ground so that you can see the difference between the ground and the road levels. I'm also going to go and turn on the template layer works because we are going to change that at a later stage. And then pointing out the road fixtures. These are the CAD layers I pointed out to you earlier. And then when I open up the cross-sectional diagram, which is found in this location, I showed you the white, yellow line and the proposed diagram, which we called new. And then also take note, if I go and change the active line to line number 2, I can get information on my cross-section of line number 2, which is the road levels. So zooming in, there you can see the difference between the two road layers, road levels, and our ground. We picked up from our CAD layers in the plan view where the white and yellow line is. And we've got layer works between the two lines. If I go and right click and select Edit Point, that particular point over there is my left road edge, and that would then be my left median.